Hello, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That is Dan. And we welcome to the studio for the very first time a human being who is a Grammy Award winner, multi-hyphenate, singer-songwriter, children's book author, a trailblazer, an icon. It's freaking Maren Morris.
Oh my God.
What is going on?
What a lead up.
No, this is very cool.
Oh, thank you. It was so nice to meet you a couple weeks ago at the GLAAD Awards. I was like, I'm a fan of the show, so it was just an organic entry.
I needed that in that setting. Like, you were just like such a beautiful, bright energy in a very crowded space, but also like, thank you. But I didn't really understand your full GLAAD history until preparing for this conversation, genuinely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really deep. Plus, I had no idea, but congratulations. You came out in June.
Yeah, last year. So that was, I guess, my first GLAAD Awards after all of that. So it was, but I know what you mean. It's chaotic. Like red carpets are anyways, but that one was, it was chaotic, but it was chaotic. It was all love and just amazing fashion, and everyone's just, you just feel safe there.
So there you have a very, very, very safe energy. But I am excited to hang out and talk to you because there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of music, and I also think that like a lot of the life that you've been living has made its way into the records that you're putting out. But also like, Coachella was incredible.
Thank you.
I had goosebumps. I've listened to the performance now 4 times. It's so great.
The LA Philharmonic set?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. That was definitely a spiritual experience.
Right?
Yeah.
I felt it in my whole body. Performing a record of that magnitude, right? Something that you wrote, something that you created, something that had been with you from the very beginning. Like when you were independent, just finding your way in this.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, that record has changed your life.
Yeah. And continues to do so because I wasn't on the lineup of Coachella. I just happened to have 2 different guest appearances this past weekend. And the first was with the LA Philharmonic with Gustavo Dudamel. And it was just, they asked me what song I would want to do with them. And I kind of weighed my options, but they said that they had a gospel choir with the orchestra. So I was like, okay, well, that kind of it sealed the deal for my choice. And my church just felt like, I'd never heard my church in that way. So I've never had strings. The last time I had maybe a similar performance in terms of like brass and singers was when I did the CMA Awards back in 2016. I had the Preservation Hall Jazz Band from New Orleans come in and perform with me, and then the McCreary Sisters. So this felt like, I don't know, 10 years almost later, being able to do it at Coachella, at Golden Hour, and then have this insane, however many piece Philharmonic behind me. It was like a wall of sound, and just really, I had to start the whole thing a cappella out of this like Vivaldi spring concerto. And it was just, I was nervous for sure.
Incredibly raw.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was wondering is like, in preparation again for this conversation, I must have watched you and listened to you perform my church many different ways. But to your point, nothing really like this.
Yeah, it was its own being.
And I wondered, like, doing that song so many times ever genuinely get old? Or does it take on new meaning to you? Because it has been so many years since you released it. And look at what it's like. Come on. Like, it's that song, a handful of others. I mean, 3 EPs that you release, or an album, a couple EPs that you release independent, would go on to change your life.
Yeah. I mean, with my church, it's one of those songs that it evolves as I do. So I've had different versions of it through the live show. This was obviously a very special occasion. I mean, I would love to be able to, afford a full gospel choir and string and brass section for every performance. But
imagine.
It was just a singular experience for it. And I think really full circle for me because, like you said, that song really did change everything for my career. So to come back to it and kind of reintroduce it in a way to people that had maybe never heard of that song or of me. I come from the country world. And so to even be at Coachella, is, it's my second time there as a guest artist. Like I performed with Zedd there back in 2019. before the pandemic and everything. But this was like a strange weekend where I was doing like 2 shifts. But no, it was really powerful.
2 timeless records.
It was, thank you. Yeah, it couldn't have been more opposite from each other too, because it's like this orchestral moment with my church, sunset. And then the next day, 24 hours later, full like EDM, pyro, laser light show under like this full moon with Zedd, and then doing the middle. It was just like what a spectrum of genre happening in this weekend for me.
Like range, but also in a moment where like everybody's watching, and it does like play a part in solidifying one's place within culture, specifically as you get into this next album, which is also a range of genre.
Yeah.
It is definitely not one genre.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's a lot going on. But I've said, like, because I haven't had to have this scary conversation before, because each of my records were doing that, but I think not in this bold of a way as Dreamsicle is, because with just the range of producers that I worked with making this album, it's like when I go back to my, first record, like major label record with Hero, it was like I went from my church and then next single was 80s Mercedes. So it was like I was sort of whiplashing people from then because I didn't want to get pigeonholed in just this sort of like rootsy gospel song, which is like, it's such a powerful song and I love it, but I also have so much more to show. And so I think I was intentional doing that. But then now it's almost 10 years later, and I feel like I've done that on each of my records where I've genre bended, but it's with this one, it feels like I definitely went outside of my comfort zone.
Why was now the time?
I mean, a lot of shit went down in my life, personal life and career, and I had to sort of take myself out of it and not be myself for a moment and just zoom out and look at like, what would someone else do with these cards? And for me, I wanted to keep the structure of what makes me happy, which is, the people I write with typically. Like, you still see some familiar faces that I've always written with on this album, but I wanted to take bolder risks in terms of like genre and work with producers that I had never had on my schedule before.
Jack Antonoff, Evan Blair,
Naomi McPherson from Muna. Like it was just, and Joel Little. I felt like I really just wanted to. Well, I wanted to meet new people.
Well, like amazing people.
Yeah, like, just incredible. And also like each of them brought out a different facet of bravery from me, because it's a completely different experience in the studio with someone like Naomi to working with Jack. So I think what I love is, and they're writing with me and they're adapting to whatever I'm bringing to the table emotionally that day and want to write about. But they in the vocal booth or in the studio, they're truly pulling different things out of me, and that's why I love working with so many different types of producers, is because I get I uncover a new thing I didn't know about myself through that process.
At a really unique stage of your life.
Yeah, a lot of different chapters were in these 2 to 3 years. So I feel like maybe a year or two ago, I would have been in the studio, slightly down and out. Like I went through a divorce, and I think I wanted to avoid that proverbial divorce album because I just didn't want to write like consistently about that. I was like, after a few songs, you're like, I get it. This happened. And you can't rush, unfortunately, the healing process. So you just have to sort of sit in the discomfort and write through it. But I think I was really glad I gave myself enough time to get on the other side of it for the most part and still write through that, write about the healing process and the aftermath and being able to like go out again and date again and kind of have my friends pick me up and put me back together. I was writing through all of these little iterations of whatever that process was. And I think that's what the record ended up becoming, was not this breakup album. It was what happens after, and how you still survive it and you move on and you become like a much more solidified version of yourself. And I just turned 35 and I have a 5-year-old at home, and I am in this completely new chapter of like, it's all new and kind of scary, but also exciting, because it's like, it's not the end. It's a completely new beginning, and you just never know. But yeah, so I'm kind of relieved the album became what it was and not something that I would have put out prematurely in the middle of all that heavy shit, and then, have to tour it and be like,
relive
these
it.
are all the sad songs. Yeah.
How many songs do you think you wrote while going through all of that you have that just won't be released because you had to get to where you are now?
I mean, I put the best ones that I like lived with for a long time on the album, of course, because I always have like a road test where I have to hear it like 80 times and still be obsessed with it for it to make it to the album. And obviously have like a cohesion to the storyline. But in terms of like quantity of songs, I had to have written like 80 or more just
so
in those like 3 years. But
an Intermission is out within those 3 years, right?
Yeah, so I put Intermission out this past fall.
Got it.
And I had most of this record done, and except for 1 or 2 songs, I wanted to put an album out last fall. But I think I was still missing like a piece of the story, or it was just missing something. And so my team was like, well, if you want to put something out now because it's been a minute, like what if we just do an EP and then we roll it into the full record? And I was like, well, then I think we should call it Intermission, because it's one act of a full project. And so that's kind of how that came to be. But I kind of liked that it had a little bit of air like hitting it for several months, and fans of mine have discovered it and loved it. But then I feel like with the rest of the album being integrated into those tent poles, the whole thing makes more sense now.
Do you take your guided shroom trip before or after starting this album?
Before. Yeah. That was like, a couple of my friends had recommended these people that do that in Nashville, and just said it was like really deeply helpful for just like depression and creation and feeling creative. And so I know I did that in 2022, I think.
And when did you start writing?
Early 2023.
Got it.
So I was mostly like dealing with like postpartum stuff, and had tried, antidepressants and therapy and every podcast and book known to man on the subject. But I was like, this feels deeper than just postpartum. This feels like I need to tap into whatever is like a fog over a lot of my life. And I think COVID just revealed a lot about my identity being so tied to work. And because I've been touring since I was 12. So the thought of like not being able to tour just completely obliterated my sense of self. And I tied so much of my worth and value and worthiness to music and feeling, like a performer all the time. And so when I was physically unable to do that, I was just going through like, whoa, I need to unpack why this is what makes me feel like a valid human being. And as much as I love music and making it and performing and touring and all the things, it can't be what makes me whole. And so I had to learn, not just through the shroom trip. I mean, that was like a nice kindling to it, but it opened like a very large conversation and world to myself that was like, yes, music allows me to get these thoughts out of my head and onto paper and have a transcendent human experience with a bunch of strangers and close friends. But ultimately, like, if it all went away and I was just doing this in my bedroom, yes, it's a therapeutic exercise and it's wonderful and it has value, but it's not what makes me valuable. So yeah, had to go through all that.
What does make you valuable?
I mean, I think everyone thinks they're a good person. I know I'm a good person. I have a lot of like even my flaws are mostly like to do with like performer's syndrome of just needing instant like praise and applause and feeling like I did a good job. Like even today, you were like shocked that we showed up early or like on time even. And I was like, it would kill me to think anyone thought that I was disrespectful because I was late. Like I am never late, but that's also because I like respect people's time.
Totally.
Like it's just, you know, you just have this from childhood of like, I never want to let anyone down. So, but I'm learning that that's more about like, I can take the negative facets away from that, like people pleasing mentality, and look at the good of it, which is like, I'm reliable and I'm a professional and I'm kind and I've had the same team from day one, and that speaks for itself. I don't have high turnover in my camp. Like I take care of people.
That's crazy.
And I'm a good mother. I'm a good friend. And I think, you know, with my fans, I'm very honest. And I think the messiness of just the longer that you're in the public eye doing something like music, which is so based on self, unless you're like a hologram, I don't know. You have to be upfront, and people can like sense inauthenticity very quickly, especially nowadays. I'm an authentic person, and sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, and it's always going to. And I've had to learn like how to be okay with that, because I had to break that like sense of always showing up and never letting people down, and you just are going to naturally do that.
It's a balance, right? Because you can't please everyone at all times.
No, and you need to make space for yourself.
That.
Please yourself.
That.
So yeah.
But I will say I get a very deep sense of gratitude from you.
Yeah.
And the other
thank
thing,
you.
and the other thing that I did, like when you were speaking about like the impacts of genuinely COVID, right? Like this idea that like this thing stops you, this like thing that's so deeply out of everybody's control to a certain degree, stops you from doing what you've literally done from the very beginning. That's different than rejection, right? Like, which I gotta say, like when I say like, you understand this, like Maren Morris has built this on your own, so much so that like you were rejected by so many people. I mean, every fucking talent show on television, but you just kept going, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between this idea of like, you have these things in your control and you're going to build it and they will eventually come.
Yeah.
And they did. And like, I mean, in your case, is that not accurate? Like Casey Musgraves tells you to go to Nashville, but like you build this thing and they come. But like when it comes to COVID, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, like you can't do anything.
Yeah. And that was sort of comforting in the moment, because like no one can tour. No one can do this thing. So you're not in the boat alone. Yeah. But
you lose that dopamine, you lose that drug, that instant pleasure, that like this release of like sharing your art and feeling that mutual understanding with people in person.
Yeah. But I mean, it did teach me that human beings are extremely adaptive. And even I was just talking to someone about how we sometimes miss COVID, because I just feel like people got so creative in their ways of, well, making music, releasing music. I remember these moments where we're doing these live performances, but it's like, it was like late night with Seth Meyers or something, but people are starting to do TV, but it's all like pre-recorded. And I was like, I do kind of miss that era of like, everything is lit so perfectly. You can do a second take. You can look at the final edit, and then they're sending it to like late night. Yeah, there's like moments I miss of just, and also just like being home all the time was pretty rad. But yeah, now I'm like, I do love to be on, I like moving.
Does being a mom change the way you make music at all?
I don't know. I feel like I still make it the same way in terms of like how the idea comes, how I approach my collaborators or co-writers or producer with it. That's all the same, because I don't know another way to do that. But as a songwriter, yeah, it opens up your empathy in a way that you just can't have access to unless you've been there. And I think I've always been empathetic. I think that's what got me into music was as a child, I would hear people's stories and I would be so, like fantasy driven of, I would live in my own head most of the time, just very, like always writing short stories and just losing myself in my own imagination. And I also, like, people would tell me from little kid on, like, what an old soul I had. And so I think maybe that's what got me into writing songs and living vicariously through people's stories and experiences to write songs until I was able to, like, be in my own relationships and write about them. But no, having a baby and then, like, watching this human grow and know that, like, everything is taught or, innately and kind of having to teach them how to regulate themselves. And you're reparenting your own inner child while doing so.
Whoa.
And so I just think whether you have control of it or not, as a writer, yeah, that definitely seeps into the writing process because I just think you're able to write from perspectives that you didn't have access to. And I don't know, I feel like I'm a better listener now. Like I thought I always was, but now I really am. I can take I have the patience to take in what someone's saying and not be thinking about what I'm going to say back to them. I'm just truly allowing space,
And
holding
presence.
space. Yeah.
Being present's hard.
It is. Yeah. It's harder. I think the more that we're connected to each other, attention spans shorten, and I'm guilty of it too. But no, I think it's like you have to be present for your child. You have to like be completely hyper aware at all times for their survival.
It really is life or death. When was the first time you wrote a song that was not from somebody else's perspective or living vicariously through somebody else via empathy?
I mean, I think I wrote about my first crush when I was 14 or 13. That was probably the most cringy thing I've ever put out, I actually never put it out, put it down. But no, I think everything I was writing before that was just like from some movie I had watched and put it through a first person perspective. But I think until you get into actual relationships of your own, you're kind of just writing out your ass.
Is there any truth to like songwriting being an actual muscle, or are things just being beamed down and it's a universe thing or a connection thing?
I mean, I think it's both. It's all encompassing, and it's also so dependent on the day or like the people you're writing with. But I will say I am better at writing, or at least I feel more well-oiled in it when I do it consistently. But no, it's like practice. It's like you get back on the bike and then you take the training wheels off after a couple of sessions and you're like, oh, I remember how to do this. And it just takes one song to be like, oh, fuck yeah. This is so good. I can't stop listening to the demo. Like, of course I fucking know how to do this.
What was that song for Dreamsicle?
I mean, it happened a couple different times during that writing process. I think when we wrote, maybe like People Still Show Up, I was like, it was such an interesting cadence. And syllable-wise, we had to put the right amount of syllables in the time given on beat. So I think we were being pretty methodical there, but I was like, damn, we wrote the shit out of this. And then it's always like the funny ones I feel that way about. So like Bed No Breakfast, that was like such an easy write because we were just making each other laugh the whole day. And it was probably like a 45-minute song and like to write. And
It's
then
really creative.
Thanks. Push Me Over was a really easy one to write. I came in with the chorus pretty much sussed out.
Definitely about sex.
Yeah.
A lot of songs about sex, but very, 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 very creatively done.
I like to be, maybe that's my Music Row brain talking, but it's like, I like to be clever if I'm going to be raunchy.
It's so good. It's so good.
Thanks.
I mean, I think I heard a bird chirping. Won't You Sleep Better at Your Place? And then you get into hope you enjoyed your stay, but you can't stay.
Yeah, it's like the anti-hotel. It's like
It's so good.
you can stay, but you're not sleeping over, and I'm not cooking for you. This was like a one and done. Yeah.
Real life?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't really supposed to be a song. I was just, I had gone on a couple of dates and I was just with my co-writers that day, and I was telling DeLacy, my friend and co-writer, I was like, do you have this thing where, I mean, she's married, but I was like, do you have this thing where you like go back and fool around a little bit, and then afterwards you're like, I really want you to book your Uber, and I like having my bed to myself. It just feels like a sanctuary. It's sacred. And she was like, no, girl, I've been there too. I want them to get out right after because I've got my skincare to do. I've got my nice sheets. I don't want to like know your weird sleep habits because we don't know each other that well in the middle of the night. I just don't want to hear anything. So this is about me. I will love to hear from you next week. But so we're just like talking, and then John Ryan, who's like also on the song, he's like, are you fucking serious? Like, girls act like this too? Something. And I was like, yes, especially now that I'm like in my 30s and I have my own place and it's the first time I've ever lived alone. I was like, I feel like I've got my creature comforts and I don't want anyone fucking with them. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to date apparently, but that's how that song came to be. It's just out of laughter.
Oh, you definitely know how to date. I think you're doing it right. And then like maybe the right person will come along,
Well, yeah, it wasn't so much about like, how am I going to find that person? It was just like, do I go to their house? But then I'm like, I really don't, what if it sucks? And I'm like, I would get like icked out, and then I'm like, no, my place might be better. At least I'll be more comfortable there. Yes. But then it's like, then they need to leave.
Yeah, but in those situations, do you tell them they need to leave, or do you just kind of let them linger and you just kind of make it obvious that I don't want you here anymore?
I mean, I think I feel like a dick, but I feel like I'm pretty upfront, and I'm never like, don't call me again. I'm always like, I would love to like do something when I'm back in town. I have a really early morning tomorrow though. Yeah, but it felt like a universal experience that I was dealing with on a singular day. And of course we wrote about it and they think it's hysterical, but I was also like, yes, the lines are funny, but this actually happened. So it's like, the sun is starting to come up. Can you please go home?
There is like, there is a blessing here though. Like,
is there?
I mean,
I hope so.
I mean, there's no way you expected at this phase of your life, right, to be at a place where you're writing songs of this nature, no?
No. You could not have told me this and I'd believe you a couple years ago. But I don't know, because I've been with my ex for so long. We're so entrenched in each other's careers too. So like the thought of doing this in my 30s, also like as a single mom, and also just an incredibly busy schedule of, music. It wasn't on my bingo card, but I feel less shell shocked than I was a year ago. And now I can sort of laugh at it and laugh at myself and not feel like I have to be out here doing this to feel like I've moved on. Now it's just, fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, why do you make music then? Is it for fun?
Yeah. I mean, not every song is fun to write. I don't think when I was writing, like, This Is How a Woman Leaves, that was a particularly fun day. I mean, it was a cathartic day, but, yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's all supposed to be fun. I think some of it is just to heal, and healing is hard work. It's not, just getting drunk with your girlfriends. Sometimes it's doing the heavy lifting of heartbreak. And I think that's why I'm glad that the record is showing all of that. And also the humor of how fucked up it is to go through all of this.
You mentioned Push Me Over.
Mm-hmm.
This is about one exploring who they are and their identity, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And written from reality, but written with people that I'm assuming you feel vulnerable around and safe around?
Yeah,
Who's in the room?
it was the first time I was writing with everyone. It was Muna.
Really?
It was Muna and Tobias Jesso Jr. and
So talented.
yeah, the best. But also like the best people to bring this idea to. And I don't know, I had just gone on my first, well, actually I think it was my first date in general, but it was with a woman. And I was just sort of testing the waters of like, I don't even know how I am on a date. I've never been on one. I was like, everyone I've been with in a serious relationship has come through a friendship. And so, yeah, I was like, this feels like an interview. And, but once I like relaxed into it and realized I know how to talk to other people, I was like, it's fine. But, no, I think it's like it's like a mirror. Dates. It's like you are seeing a mirror of yourself. And sometimes it's like you're not getting anything back. That person doesn't ask you anything. Or maybe they already know a lot about you. I don't know. But yeah, it's been kind of a spectrum
so hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't luckily had a massive nightmare situation yet, but I mean, I've had some interesting
Knock on wood.
Stories. Yes.
Please.
Is this real?
Yeah, it's a real. Oh,
Okay.
it's real. It's good luck. A lot of good energy.
Yeah. Watch me like the next time I go have a date. It's like a complete shit show.
No.
Safety I'll write a great song about it though. Yeah.
What are those interesting stories? Does anything stand out?
Oh, of just dating in general?
Yeah, you just said you had been some.
I think everyone's been relatively normal, but I'm like pretty guarded. And I try to be vulnerable and I try to like, you know, I'm also like extremely avoidant and like I can deflect really easily with humor, especially when I'm like nervous or awkward around someone I've never been to dinner with or had a drink with. I don't know. It just feels, I'm trying to like, I think now I've relaxed into the vibe of the pressure is maybe there's chemistry, maybe there's not. And if there's not, I feel like you know within 10 minutes. And it's not going to get better.
No.
So yeah, that's what I've learned. Yeah, I've like, I think because I'm still so fresh out of my like last relationship, which was my marriage, I haven't opened myself up to be truly hurt. So I feel like even though I'm being authentic, I'm still like extremely guarded with people. Some of it's out of like still being fresh out of my marriage, but also, you know, not that I'm like the most famous person, but there is an element of guardedness when you're out, and you know, Nashville is a small town. So
everyone knows everybody when you're not famous.
I know. So yeah, I'm probably gonna know you through a friend of a friend, at least, like if we're out and about. But yeah, no one's like broken my heart thus. But I also am, I don't know, I'm pretty protective of my heart and my privacy and myself. So I think, yeah, I've given it a stab enough times to like say that I know how to do this and I'm willing to open up to the right person. But no, so far I feel like it's been training wheels. I'm still in training wheel mode in the dating world.
Sloan City wins this race.
Yeah.
Dating is it's scary. It's scary for a bunch of different reasons. So I give you a lot of credit for even doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely easier to retract.
It's weird in this time, I think, just with like dating apps and like just having, I mean, we've always been able to like, or at least the last like 20 years, been able to kind of stalk someone. Just, I think women especially do it because we're like, I want to make sure you're not going to murder me, you know? So I'll do a little bit of a dive on you before, but yeah, it's strange the way people communicate now. It's like, the convenience of texting is just that. It's convenient, but it's also so lazy. And if it overwrites you talking on the phone or like making plans in person, it just feels like, I don't know. I get stuck sometimes in that mode too because I travel so much. But I feel like, yeah, the sparks definitely, even if I have like a little crush, they like die pretty quick because just everyone get so used to texting.
Yeah, you got to keep it alive. You got to send memes. You got to send pictures. You got. It's a
Yeah,
whole thing. It's a
TikToks.
lot of work.
I know.
No,
Are
it
you afraid to
is.
fall in love again though? Because you do sing about that.
Yeah, I know. I have a whole song about it. I think it's not even like being hurt. I think like at this point, I don't know if it's like an ego thing or what, but it's like, yeah, you can hurt me. That's fine. But like, don't embarrass me.
So real.
It's like,
So
if
real.
I put it out on the line, I guess that maybe that's like a dovetail with being hurt though. It's just like being embarrassed because it's like, I don't know. I think being embarrassed is more of like an ego bruise. Being hurt is like you have shattered my trust in love and optimism.
I can deal with that within myself.
Sure.
The embarrassment
I hurt
is like,
myself all the time.
yeah, like, but embarrassment, you've now roped other people into it. You know, like
Exactly.
this is something larger. Like I now have to address this. I have to account for it in some way.
You know what pisses me off is like when you maybe have like a crush or a spark with someone and you've shared maybe not some like traumatic stuff that's happened to you, but you start sharing your like funny stories or like stories that aren't for the public. And then then it ends, the crush dies, and you're like, well, fuck, wasted that story on that idiot. And now they know this funny, like valuable piece of information that they can tell their other friends. It's like so much worse than just being like, you saw me naked. It's like, you have one of my really funny stories. Now that's fucked forever with you.
You're right. You have one of my gems. And then you have to go retell that to somebody else eventually.
And now it feels less special because this like Tom, Dick, or Harry has it in their head to like brag at parties with. Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe I burned that like hilarious story on you. You didn't deserve that funny story.
But see, like it's a balance. Like, how do you know somebody's deserving of a story that is valuable to you? Because you also want to make it engaging. Like you want to give what you can to a conversation or a date.
Well, my Achilles heel is like really funny people and like tortured artists.
That's what you want?
And when they're both in the same person.
Wow.
Oh, I'll tell you every fucking funny story. Like I'll waste them all on you.
So, are you meeting people on Raya?
I'm a little bit like here and there, but I've like paused it for now because I just can't.
Well, you got you've done enough. You've done enough
busy.
living to get this album.
Yeah. When I need the new fodder for album 5, I'll turn the app back on.
No, it served its purpose.
That feels so like, manipulative, and I truly don't do that. But I mean, some things, yes, you need to do for the plot, and sometimes it's like, if a date is just like blah, or if someone's an asshole, I guess, yeah, like you kind of deserve it.
It's just living, right?
It's just living, man.
And experiencing. That's, God. I mean, what do you learn about yourself from dating? Anything?
I mean, I think each time it gets a little bit easier because just like the pressure's off. And I think I've learned that, I'm a good conversation. I can,
You're a good time.
I like to get to know people. I truly do. It's not like for show. I truly love getting to know someone. I think that's like interesting. And maybe it's because maybe co-writing for so long, like starting 12 years ago in Nashville. And that's how I made so many friends. That's how I met my ex. I was like, I know all that felt like blind dating because you don't know these people when they sit on the couch in this writing session with you. And then you have to immediately deep dive into each other's traumas to write a song. I think that feels like dating now. But you don't have a song to show for it unless, you go and write a song about it. But yeah.
So real though. It's kind of conditioned you to share.
Yeah, I'm an oversharer.
But then you overshare and then people get your good stories and then fuck.
I know.
Yeah, they ruin it forever. But it's okay. I love Cut. I love when you work with Julia Michaels.
Thank you.
Well,
Me too. I love her. She's one of my favorite humans. And before I knew her as a friend, I was just psychotically obsessed with her and everything she wrote.
Really special energy. Really beautiful energy.
You met her.
Yeah. She came on the show.
She was great.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
And then I got to say, like, when we met her, like, she came on the show, like, not really on the show, but like we did an interview with her years ago. But then I saw her at the Grammys and like through a sea of chaotic people, like really just like you at the GLAAD Awards, but like through a sea of chaotic people, she came through just to say hi.
Aw.
And she's just such a beautiful, grounded, just joyful yet kind and like heart-centered energy
Yeah.
that like even for a split second, you know that she's giving you everything she has in that second.
Oh, yeah.
She's really incredible.
Yeah, she has. I mean, there's a reason why everyone works with her and wants to work with her is because she has that, yes, talent to do that through song, but also just as a human. Like the other night at Coachella, we were both in the Zedd set, and she was a few songs after I did the middle. And, you know, we both were nervous to do that because it was such a big crowd. And, you know, we want to kill it. And no, we just like held each other side stage, and it was just nice because it's like that's the best thing about festivals is you can see your friends and yeah, just like be side stage and like just have each other's back. But no, she's seen me through a lot and vice versa, and it's amazing that we have songs between each other, but also like one of those rare humans in the music industry that like you meet in your 30s. I mean, that's when I met her. I think I had just turned 30 maybe, but and you just feel instantly like you have a lifelong friend in them.
Do you feel the success of the middle right away? Or is it something that you feel gradually over time?
Well, the middle was one of those songs that, yeah, instantly we knew it was going to be big. And even the audacity of saying that out loud before the song was out felt like you were jinxing it. But I think I just had so much belief in it that, I don't know, just from the demo, I was like, this one is different and it's going to explode. And it was just one of those rare occasions when a song comes out and within days, it was just everywhere, like wildfire. And I mean, singing it at Coachella the other night, I was like, I cannot believe. I mean, I can, but I was like, just the power and evergreenness of that song is just held on. And it's been 7 years, I think. It's just crazy. Like, and I feel like he has so many songs in his set that are like that. I mean, Clarity.
Yeah, forever.
He closes with that. And I was like, every time a new song happens, I'm like, oh my God, there's another one. And then he ends with Clarity. And I was like, God, he just has like no filler in the set.
He is, I gotta say, like, he's a genius.
Oh, yeah.
He's a mad genius in the most incredible way. And he's such a good person.
Yeah, he's such a gentleman. Like, I don't know. It's crazy to watch each other sort of move in this world since the middle. And, you know, we've gone on to work together again. We've performed together several times over the years. But, like, you know, we're doing our own thing at the same time. And it just feels like you're coming home when we get to do something together again. And he also has all the same team around him. And you can just tell because he's a kind human.
Yeah. He's a really good person.
He is.
But after Hero came out, were you looking for something like the middle to kind of go a different direction, or did it just kind of fall in your lap?
But the universe, though, do you believe that the universe had a huge hand in you getting the middle? Or, like, what do you attribute that to? Because the story is nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I mean, like, you say you heard a demo, and I think in my head, like, which demo? Because there was, like, 13.
I know. I heard the Ryder demo. So it was Sarah Aarons, who was, yeah, like, also became an obsession of mine.
She's so great.
Yeah, like, and she and I ended up working together on my album Girl after the middle, and she wrote Girl with me and Greg Kirsten, and she was on my last record, and she's just like a really special human. But also, when I heard the demo for the middle, I had never met Sarah, had never met Anton. Like, it was just sent to me. I hadn't really been looking for like a pop song because I am a songwriter. I moved to Nashville to write for other artists. So that was my gig before I wrote My Church, and, you know, everything kind of fell into place. But I wasn't really interested in recording someone else's song that I didn't write because I was like, I write all my own shit. But I had a few people send me stuff because I think it was during that moment in time, like 2017, 2018, where I don't know, like country artists were collaborating with pop artists or like DJs. And the middle was one of the first of that batch. But like, a lot of stuff, collaborations were happening in that window of time. And so I had a couple like people, like DJs, send me stuff that they were like, we'd love to put a vocal of yours on this, or would you want to finish writing this like second verse? And nothing really connected with me. And then I was just at the beach on vacation one day, like had a few days off, and my manager sent me the demo for the middle, and I was just addicted to Sarah's voice. And yes, like the chorus, and it was so hooky, but I was like, why would they get anyone else to sing this if she's on it? I still like have it somewhere in my inbox, like the demo for the middle with Sarah's vocal on it, because she'll never send it to me. She like doesn't want anyone to hear it. But no, I was like, I love this song. I can't stop playing it. Of course, when I get back home, I would love to send in like a rough vocal of mine on it. But I did not know I was like auditioning for it. I didn't know 14 other people were sending vocals in. I thought they had just approached me.
But I don't even, like, you definitely know the story better than I do. And like, you know, our little piece of that is like, we had somebody in on our show, and they ended up revealing that whole thing, and then we cut it out. And then like 8 months or a year later, the New York Times would do like a whole piece on it.
Who was it?
It was Anne Marie.
Oh, yeah. So she was
Anne Marie, Demi Lovato, Camila Cabello. But I don't think it was an audition. I think for some reason, and that's why I say the universe, my understanding of the story is that for some reason it didn't work out with each person, like timing, other records, whatever.
Literally, like I sent it in and they were like, they love your vocal, but they're going with someone else. And I was like, well, that sucks, because I recorded something for it. But I also like was pretty green to the way pop music works, because I was just, you know, and at this point, like I had a Grammy, I was moving in the country space, like on my own, already having success. So I didn't know shit about pop music in the way that, you know, sometimes, especially like in EDM, they will have several people send or do a vocal for a song, and sometimes like choose one. I didn't know any of that happened. So it was a learning curve for me, but yeah, like you were saying, eventually it didn't work out with that other singer. So it fell to me, and they were like, didn't work out with this other vocalist. Do you still want to have your name on this song, or your vocal on this song? And I was feeling a little bit like unchosen at that point, like a little bit salty, because I was like, why didn't you stay with my vocal? And but no, I definitely was like, I'd be an idiot if I'd passed this up. And they were ready to go. They were like, we're shooting the music video in LA Monday. The following Sunday's the Grammy Awards. They're going to premiere the video during the broadcast, like in the commercial break. And I was like, okay, this sounds like it has a solid plan behind it. And so I was like, yes, I would love to, yes. And so Zedd flew to Nashville, I think that like next day, and we recorded the final vocal. And no, but I mean, thank God, because it changed my life, and it still continues to. It's still like a fixture in my set, in Zedd's set. It still played it's just one of those songs, and I can't imagine if it had been someone else.
It wouldn't have been the same without your vocals.
Oh, thank you.
Your vocals are meant for it. I'm telling you, like the universe passed that thing to you.
Thank you.
There was like a bunch of different reasons. Yeah, 100%. Wouldn't have been what it is today. And it's around in culture for, we will all be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids' kids will probably be gone.
I know, it is so weird now. My son like loves that song.
Yeah, and the middle will still be here.
I know.
Like,
it'll be his legacy to hold on to when I'm dead.
What a blessing of a legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
No, I mean, like singing it the other night at Coachella, and I have done that before, but this felt like even bigger. I don't know. The crowd just felt enormous, like where we were. And seeing the drone shots of it, I was like, holy crap. But I don't know, it felt like a reunion in the best way. And then, yeah, I mean, songs just, the ones that are like that, just really, really change people's moods.
Yeah, but you got a few.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks.
You really do. I mean, can we talk about the Bones?
Yeah.
Does a song like that take new meaning today than before?
Oh, yeah.
It has to.
Yeah, because that was my second record. I wrote that song shortly after getting engaged. So I was writing it from this fresh perspective of like honeymoon phase eyes. And I'm glad because we wouldn't have written it that day had I not been in that headspace. But then, it went number one at peak COVID, like April of 2020. So it was this weird time of, yes, let's celebrate this huge moment because it's number one and it's also like crossing over into pop. And that had not happened for me. Like the middle was its own
Totally
beast. Like The Bones was my song that I wrote about my life. So that crossing over from country to pop was like, that was a first for me. And, but no, it kind of became people's like COVID song. And that was, I don't know, like really wonderful for me as the writer to hear because it was just taking a life beyond just some romantic love song and kind of becoming this healing mantra during a very unstable moment in human history. And so it's just one of those that's like in a different vein than the middle, but has this like moment when we play it live in the show where people's shoulders just relax and they're like, oh, yeah. But no, it doesn't get old for me to do.
Is there a song? I think I heard you mention this once. If I'm wrong, just ignore me. But is there a song on Girl that like you thought sounded like a Dolly song, but then you like reached out to her and she's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's like any songwriter's worst fear is unintentionally being on top of a melody that already exists. And, it happens more than you think. I think when I write with so many different people and, play the song so many times for, loved ones before it ever gets, to the public, there's always like checks and balances of like, ooh, we should change this because this melody is a little bit too close to this other song. But yeah, there's a song on my second record called All My Favorite People. And I remember it was like 2 weeks till the record was out. And my mom was actually the one that was like, I kind of noticed the verse melody sounds a little bit like 9 to 5. And I was like, I felt like my stomach dropped because I was like, what? Like my mom wouldn't, try to fuck with me. So
your mom out of all people.
yeah, I know. She wouldn't do that. So she was genuinely like trying to give me a heads up and I listened to it immediately and I was like, da 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 da. It was close enough to me to 9 to 5 and I was like, fuck. Like you just feel so shit. And I was like, can we reach out to Dolly Parton's people? How, like, I don't think she has a cell phone. Like, she uses like a fax machine. And so
real.
I remember like writing something to her of like, hi. And I don't think I'd met her at this point, or maybe I had, I can't remember, but I was like, I love you so much. No, I had worked with her actually. No, I didn't. I don't remember. Anyways, I have since, thank God. But no, I was just like, oh my God, I've done this thing. You write so many songs and everything is, kind of in existence already.
Oh, yeah.
But you try to separate yourself from, music that's been not, released in the last 60 years. You'd like to stay off of. It's not public domain yet. Like, happy birthday. But no, I just was like, I'm so sorry. This was an honest mistake. I would love to give you a percentage of the writing credit because I would never do this intentionally, but it sounds close enough to me. And she wrote back or faxed back. She was like, oh my gosh, honey, you're all good. And she didn't take any scent of it. And it wasn't like, it didn't end up being like a single or anything like that, but it was on the record.
Yeah, she would have made something.
Yeah, like it was on the same record with The Bones and Girl. And, it was just, yeah, I mean, I think also a lot of other artists are litigious.
Yeah.
And I've had friends, be sued over copyright or, feeling like a melody was too close to someone else's or, it's such a nightmare for songwriters who are already like also so underpaid. So yeah, there's like songwriter insurance for that very, occasion because sometimes, you're sued and people like, it luckily hasn't happened to me, but I've had people wait until the song has peaked and
To come after you.
like not after me,
No,
but like to
the
their
person.
song.
Yes, yeah,
Because
yeah.
they want the record to be fully paid out and then fall off the chart. And then that's when they'll sue them, which is so fucked. Like
People suck.
they really do. I mean, I just would never do that to someone. And so Dolly, she probably doesn't even remember this also because she's just like Dolly Parton. She's got enough going on. She's huge. She has her own fucking theme park. But I was like, little old me coming at you being like, would you like to write your percentage? She's like, girl, we're good. No, but it was very cool. It was
Keep your pennies.
yeah, keep your pennies, bitch. No, she didn't say that. She would never say that. But no, it was so cool of her and like solidified her, even if she hadn't been before, which she was, just legend status. And also like she's a songwriter's writer. Like she gives a shit about that. She didn't let Elvis record "I Will Always Love You" because he was gonna like take, I think, a huge chunk of the writer credit, and she was like, "Thanks, but no thanks."
Advocates like her are the only reason why songwriters have the chance of having a profitable future and keeping this thing alive because it's like really dire out there.
I know,
It's
yeah,
really rough.
they are definitely the last to be paid as a songwriter in this industry, and it's just it sucks. Like most of my friends like have to get like second or third jobs because there's no salary, like because songwriters we're all independent contractors. So like people that are not an artist like myself and can tour or, have performance royalties or sell, merch at the show, like, it's just, yeah, they definitely need advocates because, I mean, the song doesn't exist without them.
No, and there's very little reason why somebody should like get into songwriting today.
No, I know. Yeah,
there's
right.
very little upside to it. So
yeah,
it's like
you have to be like super creative and like do some weird version of it to make a profit in this moment. And that kind of goes for artists too. Like, but no, there's an amazing organization actually in Nashville called NSAI, and it's basically like a union for them. But we definitely need like a songwriter union.
You have been vocal on a bunch of things throughout your journey. I mean, literally, you've spoken up as it relates to Morgan Wallen. You've spoken up as it relates to Tucker Carlson. You have just spoken up in the face of injustice to literally anybody. It's really cool. But do you think about those moves, or do they just kind of come inherently? Like, just because it's who you are as a person?
I mean, I think sometimes I wish I had thought about those moves before reacting, but I think, no, I mean, I stand by everything I've said and I will till I die. I think like being at the GLAAD Awards was so fun because I just don't feel like a sore thumb. I feel like I'm in a community of people that are way braver and more courageous than I am. And, but no, there's so much bigger shit going on that, to have this like night to celebrate that hard work and like also, be educated, was really nice for me because it just kind of gets me out of my own head and like back to the community building and the work that needs to be done. And these people are doing it. But no, I think, yeah, I have like a sort of, I don't know if it's like my upbringing of being like raised in the South and, my heroes being outspoken and whether through their platform or through their songs. I mean, I was like a child of the 90s. So like my heroes are like Alanis and Cheryl. And so
Dixie Chicks.
yeah, the Chicks. I mean, oh my God. And I've gotten to tour with them, which was so fun. And they still are my heroes. So yeah, I mean, it's great loving someone's music. I think that's always like the first love you have is like that's what gets you into it, like to the artist. But I want the people that I spend my money on to be real. I want them to be human beings. And I want to like morally align with them, and it makes me feel closer to their music.
I've said for a long time, like when, you support an artist, like people go, you separate the art from the artist. But the reality is like every stream, every ticket sale, every merch purchase is enabling that behavior, right? It's like continuing that. It's pushing that agenda. But the other thing is don't downplay your own bravery, because the reality is like country music is very, country music. And with that comes a different set of like beliefs and standards. And you went somewhat anti that.
I think I went back to that. I think I went back to where country music was, which is like when you see interviews of Johnny Cash or like the Highwaymen with Willie and Christofferson, it was like
real.
They're all, well, Christofferson was a war veteran. So he's talking about like veterans' rights, veteran care. I mean, they're talking about public education. They're talking about homelessness. Those are the outlaws these people at their festivals have on a screen tee. Like, were you listening to them talk? Or are you just listening to Boy Named Sue? Like, I think I wasn't diverting from country music. I think I was touting what made me fall in love with it, which was reality and human stories through really clever storytelling and lyrical structure and heart and soulfulness in that vocal. There's so much like warmth in country music and what like I fell in love with it for, but also they were all like pushing the boundaries of, and they were advocating for like minorities and marginalized communities. That was my country music. I don't know where it changed, but I wasn't anti anything in it. I was anti, homophobia and bigotry, but like, I don't know. I felt like I was always marching to the drum of my country music heroes, and they were incredibly courageous.
It's worked out pretty well for all of them.
Yeah. I've like been fortunate enough to like meet Willie, and, his son Lucas is so sweet, and also was lucky to meet Chris Christofferson. And I just was like, it was so emotional for me. And also like when I worked with Dolly with my band, the Highwomen, and we did like Newport Folk Festival with her, it was just like, it made me feel like this is what I love about this music is these are the real people. And and there's so much country music now that I love. And I love Stapleton. I love Sturgill, Tyler Childers. Like, there's real storytelling happening. But there's like a ton of new music too that I am like have been exposed to through it because it's becoming such a popular worldly genre now.
It's giving diverse. It's giving more range than ever before, or at least in a while.
Yeah, it's definitely like getting there for sure. Yeah, I guess there's all like there's work to be done everywhere, but yeah, of course, I think it's definitely further than it was, when we were starting to have that conversation. But yeah, I think I'm not here to criticize a machine because that's what it is. But I think also like country music is so tied to like real people's stories and lives that like that is their story within that music. So they will take personally any sort of buck to it or critique of it. So I understand that element of it for sure. And like I'm from Texas, like all of my idols come from that neck of the woods and the songwriting country world. So yeah, it's just I think I'm older and wiser, and I think I'm just so like focused on myself that I can't like listen to all the noise, and I just have to focus on like what I'm doing today. And I know my proof, and I've said this before, is like always the crowd at my show. That's like the best proof you could ever have is what does that crowd look like? Is it all one type of person? Do they all look like me? No. Like, it's really diverse and it feels safe. And my fans, I would hope, because of the choices I've made musically or with this platform, feel safer in that crowd because I've stood up to people that don't stand up for them.
That.
Sure.
Vitally important.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love music. I love putting it out, but I think like when you're live, it's like you are starting to see what your crowd looks like. And I've lost people along the way. And I think that's normal. Like as you like get into a long career.
You're also evolving as a human being. Like, think about it. Like, you don't keep everybody around you as you evolve as a person. Like, you know, you shed the right people.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And I think like, of course, it's been wonderful with songs like The Middle and The Bones. And maybe people discovered me through that. I also think like this Coachella thing was interesting because like I was doing a song that was almost 10 years old with the orchestra. And they were like, it was kind of blowing up on TikTok of just people were like, I didn't know she sang like this. And I was like, this song's a decade old. It's been there. You just got to go like do the homework. But no, it's amazing. Anytime like your music like finds new audience.
I mean, so any other part of your process that still exists today from My Church and like Hero era?
It's all the same to me. I mean, I think the only thing that changes is my perspective and wisdom and some hard days and better days. That's like the only thing that's shifting. I think I'm just a student of life, of like conversation, books, podcasts. I will go see movies most of the time by myself because I consider it, well, I mean, it's fun also.
it's so
I don't want
healthy.
anyone sitting next to me like, maybe I have a problem. Like, this feels like bed, no breakfast again. I'm like, please leave. No, I just want to be able to experience it and like form my own opinion and reaction with it. But I consider it work. I'm like, this is fun work, but I feel like it just fills my songwriter well.
Have you always done that? Going to movies alone?
Yeah, since I was a teenager.
Very cool.
I go to concerts alone. I agree.
Really?
I don't want anybody bothering me. I like to just to sit there, enjoy it, and be my own thoughts.
What do? You just like
Just stand there,
stand
and
there
enjoy
and
it.
vibe. Yeah.
I went to your concert at the Wiltern a couple years ago by myself.
Oh my
The
gosh.
Girl World Tour. Yeah, I just went alone, stood there, watched it. It was great.
Wait, we did 2 nights
It
there.
was at the Wiltern. I think he did the Greek a couple months later or something on like 4 or something.
Were you there? Okay, so at the Wiltern one of the nights, I remember JoJo came out and we did Too Little Too Late. Was that the night you came?
I think I was there that night. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was like shut the place down. When she hit that high note in Too Little Too Late, I was just gagging. It was amazing. But that's so sweet. I love that you came by yourself. Like I don't think I've ever done that to a show.
You gotta try it. You
Yeah.
gotta try it. I just remember walking away from that concert being like, because I thought I was going to a country concert. I walked away thinking that was like a pop, like a all around show.
Whoa.
That wasn't just a country show.
I remember the production too. It was like, it was my second album tour, and it was, I think, kind of coming off of The Middle.
Yes.
So
You did
I was
perform
like, even though we're playing clubs, I was like, I want a video wall. I want a stage lift.
Yeah. You had
fog.
it all.
I think we had scented bubbles. I was just like throwing every production idea at the wall and somehow pulled it off. But no, I mean, that's such a compliment though, that you would go by yourself and also kind of walk away with like a different, like we changed your mind.
Mm-hmm.
JoJo. Now I'm pissed I missed that.
It was so good.
I have a video of it somewhere. I'm sure it's on the internet, but it was just like so insane because that was such a titular moment for me. Like when that song first came out and the video for Too Little Too Late. I mean, just still such an incredible vocalist. And oh my God, it was such a moment.
Yeah, like you're very much of that era. Like you're only 35.
I'm only 35. Yeah. I mean, this is like prime for me. I was like, I feel like I give way less of a fuck about what people like think about me or what I'm doing because no one really is paying attention. I'm like,
So
this
real.
is just one like person bag of water existing and like happen to make music on a public level. But ultimately it's like, I just give everyone else, including myself, the grace to just, fuck up and like be all over the place. But so what were we talking about?
No, but there's peace in that. Just real quick, I want to know, like, what motivates your desire to create the Highwomen and bring everybody together? Where does that come from?
That was Amanda Shires and Brandi Carlile. Like they brought me into that, and it was forming itself. And Brandi called me. I think it was the week Girl came out, and I was at the Tonight Show, and in my dressing room, and I get this call from Brandi Carlile, and she's like, "Hey, bud, would you want to be a part of this female super group? We're doing all these songs, but like we'd love for you to send in any songs that you may have or love that didn't make it onto your record." And I was like, who's in it? And she's like, me, Amanda Shires, Natalie Hemby. Natalie Hemby is like one of my closest friends and has written so many songs with me. I was like, done. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, of course, I would be an idiot not to be a part of this. So that's kind of how that came to be. And then we got in the studio a couple weeks after that phone call with Dave Cobb in Nashville at RCA. And, I just had the best time writing, recording the vocals. We ended up doing this like old song of mine called Loose Change and this other song called Old Soul. Both made it to the album, and it was just like, I don't know, it felt like I was in Texas again. It felt like the music that I grew up singing, and just being in a group with the three of them. We always get asked if we're going to do a second record, and we all desperately want to. It's just like life happened, COVID happened. I ended up having my son, and then it's like we're all doing solo projects. Like, so, and then also Brandi just did the record with Elton. It's like when we have the time,
Joni Mitchell, like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. So it's like when we have the time, we would absolutely love to get back in the studio with Dave, and just like we have, I'm sure, so many songs that we could like pile in for another record.
Is it hard to raise your son while also being in the public eye, like in having to balance and deal with perspective and public discourse? And
I mean, it's tough to like, not the public part. I mean, we don't put him on the internet. So we definitely, that's helpful, because I just feel like when you remove your child's face, or really, I'm just super private about my motherhood anyways, because like there was a few moments before we sort of took him off the internet and he was only like 3 months old. I was just already feeling like criticism from like other parents. And yeah, because it's just like one more thing you're putting out there for the world to criticize.
Ugh.
And I just wasn't in a place to receive it, and still don't want to. So I was, and also like, I love that he can just have anonymity in this way. And, but no, I think, as far as like schedules go, I think that's the toughest part, is like between me and my ex, like we work really hard and together to make everything pretty seamless. But, yeah, like he's going to start real school this fall, and
that's crazy.
It's always, I mean, he loves like being on the road. Like he has a bunk on my bus, and, it's so fun because he just loves everything about tour. But, no, I mean, I'm definitely like a working mom, and sometimes I get to take my kid to work with me, and those are those days. But, yeah, that's not the hardest part of like being a mother, is like working. I think it's just like, yeah, it's definitely been a new shift of like, since, now he's got 2 different houses to go to.
Yeah,
it's probably similar to any other kid that's, going through divorce, but he's still so young, which is nice. I feel like that's kind of on our side, is that when they're younger, they're a little bit more like adaptable to circumstance. And I don't know, like we're we're definitely doing our best, and I feel like we're doing a great job, and he's happy, and we just take it a day at a time. But I think, no, it's so fun. I'm gonna see him tomorrow when I get back home, and I'll have the week with him, and he's the best. It's really like, I'm sure everyone says that about their own kid, but I feel like when you hear from other people that don't have kids, they're like, your son fucking rules.
Yeah, huge. That's a huge
the
tell.
compliment, right? Yeah, no, but he's so
Yes.
special, so funny. He knows he's funny, and he loves music. I think when I did the music for The Wild Robot, that was like the first time I'd ever had a song in a film, but it was also like the first time that he ever got to enjoy something that I had contributed to, and like truly loved that movie. But
and fully understand exactly what you do, and like see it in action outside of seeing you on a stage. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, like going to the movies and watching The Wild Robot, and he had heard the song "Kiss the Sky" before because I'd played it for him, but it like clicked because he was like, "Wait, you're right here watching this movie with me, but your song is in this scene." Like he was getting it finally, which was so sweet.
By the way, congratulations. That's a huge deal.
Thanks.
I mean, you get every nomination.
Oh my God, like the movie, they came to me a few years ago because it takes so long to animate a film, but no, that was definitely like a new muscle for me. It was just writing for something that I don't know how it's going to look in the end. And, you're only seeing this little sketch from one scene. Now write a whole song around what's going on. And no, but it was such a dream come true because DreamWorks was, and, Chris Bowers, who did the score, worked with us, and everything was just so positive. There were no like notes coming back of like, no, this verse doesn't make any sense. Like, do it again. It was just all like really luckily organic and kind. And then it's like, once it's out, you don't know how the final product is going to look. And then like when I finally saw the full version, I was just like sobbing.
When do you see it for the first time? Like, where are you?
The first time I saw the full like finished scored version was at TIFF, like the Toronto Film Festival. So that was like the premiere, and we're all watching it together, the cast, Chris Bowers and I, my team, we're all just sitting in the audience like sobbing because it's one thing to just hear the song and maybe hear a little bit of the score, but like the animation was so beautiful. Lupita Nyong'o's performance was so perfect and emotional. I mean, I've seen it like 10 times now, like through, different events, and also like we own it. Now my son loves it, thank God. But no, I just like all my like adult friends that have seen it, whether they like have children or not, are just like, this movie is so impactful.
And this song is really powerful.
Thank you.
Really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You got to listen to Dreamsicle though. That is a brand new album. It's waiting for you. It's all on Amazon Music. Listen to Maren's new record. You good?
Yep.
You positive?
Yep.
I feel like we covered a lot.
I did.
Yeah, you got to get out of here. I appreciate you hanging out.
No, this was so fun. I'm glad I got to do like the full thing.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Also,
hanging.
impeccable snacks in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you got them. Please go shopping.
I am stealing a lot of it for my hotel for later.
I appreciate your time and energy.
Yeah.
Please listen to Dreamsicle. Link below. Maren Morris, everybody.
Thank you.